As we try out feminine confidence, sometimes that's the best way to actually become femininely confident. Instead of just waking up and thinking, okay, if I lose 15 pounds and if I get Botox and if I date that one guy and change my entire wardrobe and get that promotion, then I'll be femininely confident. It doesn't work like that. It really has to come from within. And I'm sure you've met someone like I have who they don't have one. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and I run the blog called Mrs. Midwest. Today we are turning back to my roots and discussing feminine character, warm, welcoming, inviting, and ultimately irresistible quality that makes femininity what it is. I want to discuss how this can affect our dating prospects, but also just personal happiness, building friendships, day-to-day life. You know, how can tapping into that vibrant, warm, and just inviting side of femininity, how that can bless us and even, you know, maybe get us a second date. So this video was inspired by another content creator. He is called Think Before You Sleep. It's a little bit controversial. It's a little bit, you know, I don't agree with everything. It's a little bit out there, but I find his channel interesting because he often comments on modern dating, male and female dynamics. And in this one video, he was reacting to a dating experiment. These dating experiments, you know, from channels like Jubilee are really common on YouTube, where they'll get a bunch of people in a room and they'll set up crazy scenarios like rank everybody from best looking to worst looking, or choose someone right now to go on a date with in 5 minutes. You know, they're just kind of crazy situations. They're very great for reaction content, etc. But this video I found very interesting because the experiment was aimed at having a bunch of girls try to get chosen by one guy, and all they were able to do is like walk up to him and say their name and like give a one-liner essentially. And it was really interesting because it was very clear that the approach a lot of women were choosing to do was a very kind of like negative energy towards the man, kind of like, you're just lucky I'm here. You're lucky you have my time. How are you going to impress me? You know, that kind of energy that I've even seen replicated a lot in dating advice, dating content online, modern films and media and books. And I've even seen a lot of young girls kind of idolizing the concept of being that girl that's just like above it all towards men, but even like in other situations, like has that bad bee energy. She is better than everyone, or if she's not, she at least thinks she's better than everyone. She doesn't want a man to waste her time. She doesn't want a man to like mess around with her. He has to impress her. He has to bring a lot to the table, etc. And I can see why this has happened. I can see why people value that concept. And I can see, you know, as with most things in this world, most things online, things get taken to an extreme. So today I kind of wanted to unpack how we can tap into femininity while staying centered, because I do think there is two sides to this coin. I think you can be too negative, too I don't need anybody, I don't need a man, I am better than everybody. But then you can also be too like people-pleasing and clingy and a doormat, and in my opinion, neither of these is playing into your optimal femininity. Neither of these is playing into even the optimal results you could be getting in your relationships and in your life. So just to further illustrate, you guys have known since I've started my channel like 5 years ago, I've been kind of harping against this concept that women need to act masculine in order to be successful, whether it is in the workplace, whether it is in just life or health or relationships, romantic friendships, family, etc. I just really don't think that as women, we need to be totally masculine in how we approach life in order to be successful. I think that femininity, specifically feminine charm, just the whole concept of that warm, inviting charisma of a feminine woman, it is so much more powerful than people acknowledge. And I really think that there's been some wires crossed in the concept of what it is to be an advanced, elegant, mature woman. I think somewhere along the way, instead of shooting to be like someone like the Princess of Wales, we've kind of like gone off course, and it's all about not needing anybody and kind of having this like hostile energy about us where we're pushing people away before they can hurt us. And I really don't think that that's necessary in order to protect our hearts in relationships or in order to attract men. I think that we can attract relationships, attract friendships, be successful with positive, warm, inviting energy. People often think there is a weakness there because sometimes that positive, warm, inviting energy can be associated, like I said earlier, with that people-pleasing, clingy kind of stuff. And I do think that that can be negative. I think that there are two extremes represented here. If you are too people-pleasing, if you are too focused on making everybody like you, if you're too obsessed with what they think about you, you're not going to be centered, you're not going to be grounded, you might even easily be taken advantage of, you probably will be unhappy. On the flip side, if you are so obsessed with keeping people either away from you or beneath you by asserting dominance, if you are obsessed with everyone knowing that you don't need them, if you're obsessed with keeping people at an arm's length unless they can do something for you, that is very also negative energy that will not lead to like true serenity. And so I really think what we can do is, instead of balancing these two things, build something new out of femininity, out of what we've learned from generations of women displaying feminine charm. Like I said, keep saying the Princess of Wales, but even the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth, wonderful example of just feminine energy in a position of power. So what I'm saying is, in order to be confident, like I think a lot of people think in order to be confident, you have to act like that bad bee energy. You don't. You can be feminine, warm, and inviting while still being wise and shrewd and confident. Just because you're warm and inviting doesn't mean you're going to be walked all over by everybody. It's a very fine balance. And I also want to touch on the fact that these two sides, either being a people pleaser or having that like really intense false confidence, they're both an obsession of what other people think of you or other people in general and how they can hurt you. Sometimes people take this route, people pleasing, because if everybody likes you, then you don't have to be afraid that they're going to hurt you. How are you going to get hurt if everybody likes you? Why would someone hurt somebody they like? On the flip side, if you keep everybody beneath you by reminding them that you're too good for them or that you don't need them, how are they going to hurt you? They can't get close enough to hurt you. So here we have a lack of vulnerability. And here we have total submission to people when you shouldn't be giving that. You need to be grounded in who you are and yourself, because what's going to happen if everybody likes you until that one person doesn't like you and you can't change their mind? And then are you going to spiral? What's going to happen over here if you don't let anybody in, or you keep them beneath you, and then you find yourself lonely? You don't have friends, you don't have a boyfriend. What are we going to do? And so that's why I think femininity really strikes the balance for women, giving us a roadmap for how to invite relationships while remaining centered and confident. So you can be confident, you can be a strong woman without putting out that negative energy of like, you just have to impress me. And again, this is by that warm, inviting, irresistible femininity. So how do we live that out? How do we put that out there? You guys know I am a Christian. I'm not new age. So it's not about putting out a vibe. It's not about law of attraction. It's not about putting out energies in order for people to sense your energies to me. It is about who you are, the character of who you are at the end of the day when you are alone, your head resting on your pillow at night. Who are you? Are you a person who's obsessed with other people and will do anything to make them like you? Are you a person who's afraid to be vulnerable with people, so you push everybody away? Or are you a person where those people all around you, it's not informing who you are? You're living your life. You have your faith, your relationships, your hobbies. You have your focus, and that's what centers you. So growing up, what influenced my image of a confident feminine woman was a strange mix of women I knew in real life, Barbie, her beauty, hobbies, friendships, and the Bible, what I learned at church, specifically the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I still think that those fruits of the spirit are a really great framework for what we can consider with femininity. So as we build feminine confidence, it's important to know it's not easy, because you can't just push everybody away. You know, you have to be vulnerable, and being vulnerable is really hard. It puts you at risk of being hurt, okay? And I understand that that is scary, especially if you've had your heart broken, especially if your heart's even been broken by a parent, a father. It can be very hard to trust men. I understand. So it's sometimes tempting to become that cold person, like, I don't need anybody. On the flip side, it's also easy to try to just make sure everybody likes you. Don't upset anybody. Don't rock the boat, because then you'll be safe. But being feminine, being confident does mean that sometimes you're going to disagree with people. Sometimes you're not going to accept certain behaviors. You're going to break up with that guy, or you're going to not have to see that friend anymore. Sometimes it also means opening up, showing a warmer side of yourself. And here's why I think it's important to be warm, inviting, and welcoming, especially when starting a relationship. Because the energy you put out, and again, when I say energy, I'm not really talking about new age, actual energy. I'm just talking about, what you're communicating to the person you're on a date with. So when you're putting out that cold energy, when you're putting out don't waste my time, whatever, maybe it will catch his interest in the beginning. Maybe it'll be kind of intriguing and it will start that pursuit. But what are you going to do when you start liking him? When you do want his time, when he is wonderful and you love him? Is he going to find you clingy? Is he going to be bored that there's no chase anymore? Where's that cold, mysterious woman who I had to please? That dynamic is kind of messed up because it creates a power imbalance from the very beginning. And what are you going to do when your heart does get wrapped up in things? This is why I think it's important to be a more neutral and to have that element of, hey, how are you going to impress me on this first date? Are you going to pay for it? Are you going to tell me a funny story? What are you bringing to the table? While maintaining that warmth. So you don't have to be on your first date in order to get a boyfriend, I'll date anybody, everybody's fine, you can have nothing going for you and I'm going to date you. That's also not good, and it's also not even feminine, because feminine women are wise. We protect ourselves. You want to protect yourself from an unbalanced and unsafe future, whether that be by somebody with a power imbalance or whether that be with someone who's just not dateable, not good for your future. So having a warm, inviting, feminine confidence means that when you do show up to that first date, you're not acting like you're better than him. You're not acting like he's wasting your time, but you're also not overlooking red flags. You're open to him, but you're cautious. And I think it is a wonderful quality to be cautious as a person, especially where your heart is involved, because we can get our hearts broken. We can start a whole new life trajectory from one relationship. Suddenly you start a relationship and then that's your husband and the father of your children and you're connected forever. These things should not be taken lightly. So feminine, warm, inviting energy is not a honey trap. It doesn't mean you're going to go on that date and be so warm and wonderful, inviting. He's going to want to marry you that day and you're going to want to marry him. No. But it does mean that you are showcasing your serene femininity. Again, this is so important because how you show up in the beginning is kind of a standard for, you're communicating how you like to be, you're communicating how you want to live your life, how you want him to treat you. So if, again, you show up and you're warm, relaxed, serene, maybe a little nervous, but you're happy to be there, you're positive, you're communicating to him that you like to be warm, you like to be serene, you like to be positive. So in the future, he'll value a warm, serene, happy you, because that's what he fell in love with and that's how you represented yourself. And that's also why I think feminine confidence and being warm, inviting, welcoming, it's really not just about that first date. It's not just about trapping a man or trapping a friendship or getting that ring to walk down the aisle. It's about day-to-day happiness, because being warm, welcoming, and inviting is a wonderful, safe, and joyful place to rest. It means that when you are home alone in the evenings and you're single, you're enjoying your hobbies. You're not discontent. You're not frustrated with life. You're not desperately longing for somebody, but you're also not Ooh, getting a little sweaty. But you're also, open to a new relationship. So being warm and welcoming, it really has so much to do with how you present yourself. But it also has so much to do with your personal journey with contentment and gratitude. I need to make a whole video about gratitude, but I think that is the number one way you can be internally content, serene, and joyful, so that when you do show up to situations where you need to present yourself, you can be naturally welcoming, naturally warm, naturally inviting. Because I don't think feminine confidence is something you can just like put on and take off like a mask. I think you either kind of have it or you don't, but that doesn't mean you can't grow into it. I am much more femininely confident than I was like 10 years ago. So the key here is to have it be something that blossoms from within, from your character. I am a Christian. For me, my sense of self, my center, it comes from my faith in the Lord. I know where I'm going when I die. I have a moral code to live my life by. I have a God to worship and to pray to and to have a relationship with. I have like a center in a community. So much of my center comes from my faith, but also living out that faith through gratitude, through contentment. And I notice that when I write down my gratitudes, when I feel like joyful and grateful, even if life is stressful, it's like something that bubbles up within me that flows out to other people. And this is so important, again, not just for the first date, but in my life right now as a mother, because my mood and my like reality influences my toddler and my baby so much, and also my husband. So seeking out to be warm and welcoming and inviting isn't just a one-night thing on your first date, like I keep saying. It's a lifestyle, and it is a way to tap into feminine character. I think a warm, settled confidence in a woman, that serenity she has, I really think that men value that. I think that they value a woman who knows who she is. So she isn't that clingy, like annoying little girl, but she's also, has space for him in her life. I really do feel like, especially in this modern time, it can set you apart. It's cutthroat out there for dating. Like, my single friends have told me so much. It's scary, it's crazy, and I really do understand why a lot of people have kind of defaulted to that bad bee energy. Don't waste my time, I don't need you, because a lot of like people out there are wasting your time. A lot of people aren't worth going on a date. I do understand, but I don't think that just because there's a lot of bad people out there, we need to lose our sense of centeredness and peace. We don't need to become a combative and hostile person just because there is like bad people out there. I think you can like retain your warm, welcoming sense of self while like balancing it, like I keep saying, with discretion and discernment. So as you're going about warm, welcoming energy, be aware of how you present yourself. Be aware of your attitude. I think attitude is a huge thing that can really make or break happiness in life. And again, it's beyond dating, because having a good attitude, I have found, has helped me so much in motherhood. In the throes of the postpartum time, especially with my oldest son, that was so hard. And choosing to have a good attitude, choosing to focus on my gratitudes, choosing to have that warm, welcoming, like, reality about myself, it made everything better. And I'm not saying you can like change mental health issues or change your life situation just by having a good attitude, but I do think we don't talk enough in our modern world about how our internal sense of, reality through gratitude, through trying to have a positive attitude, through trying to have perspective, how much that can influence ourselves and also people around us. So as you're going about building even friendships, consider how you present yourself. Are you trying to relate through gossip or complaints or negativity? Or are you trying to relate through activities and getting together and supporting one another and discovering interests together, building community? When you go on a date, are you trying to see how he's up to snuff for you, or are you just focused on enjoying yourself, learning about a new person, and showing a bit of yourself, being a little vulnerable? Being a warm, welcoming, inviting feminine woman includes a level of vulnerability. And this is why I think a lot of people don't end up tapping into their true femininity, because it's so hard to be vulnerable. I used to really struggle with this, specifically in female friendships. I used to keep myself back. I had some really good friends growing up that they were my friends from when I moved to Canada as an infant to when I left at 18. And so I didn't have to like make a lot of new friends as I was growing up, which meant when I went to university, I kind of had a hard time figuring out the balance of friendship and opening up, especially in group settings. I always felt really uncomfortable. Like, I'm a camp counselor and I have to be friends with all these other camp counselors, and it was really hard for me. But as I tapped into my gratitude, my positive attitude, I hate that rhymes, but whatever. And as I learned to be, most of all, vulnerable with other people, I was able to actually form friendships. I was able to show my personality, to be who I am. And I really think that vulnerability is so key as we go about building relationships, as we go about putting out that warmth to other people. So part of warmth is opening up. It is telling a story about your life, even though you're feeling a little nervous, like you feel like you've been talking too long. I get that. I get that social anxiety. It's about greeting the cashier, because it doesn't matter that you're not going to date the cashier. It doesn't matter that you're not going to be best friends with the cashier. Every interaction you have with another person, if you focus on putting out that warm, welcoming, inviting feminine energy, the more it is just going to be second nature to you, the more it's going to inform who you are and your life. And I really do believe as we try out these behaviors, as we try out feminine confidence, sometimes that's the best way to actually become femininely confident. Instead of just waking up and thinking, okay, if I lose 15 pounds and if I get Botox and if I date that one guy and change my entire wardrobe and get that promotion, then I'll be femininely confident. It doesn't work like that. It really has to come from within. And I'm sure you've met someone like I have who they don't have much going for them, but they are so confident. And because of that, they're wonderful to be around and they're a positive presence. And I really do, again, feel like in this Instagram, TikTok, social media world where everything is about aesthetics, it is about eye-catching, beautiful people. Gotta cover my armpit stain there. We kind of lose out what real presence is. So presence is something that you can't quite communicate through social media, through a TikTok, whatever. It's something in person that greatly affects our day-to-day life. So instead of just focusing on the aesthetics of femininity, the aesthetics of being warm and beautiful and inviting, think about your presence, the inside, like what you're putting out into the world. Are you being open to opportunities, open to relationships? And this can even be on a smaller scale. It is so important to value people, even if they can't give you something. And like I said at the head of the video, Princess of Wales, she's like the best in my opinion. But she's a person who is just, they treat every single person they come into contact with grace and elegance, whether she's talking to them for 2 seconds or they're, her child. And I really think that example is wonderful for us because she's like the pinnacle of wealth and elegance and, status, and she still treats the little person so well. And that is a really like warm and inviting place to be. And so again, I really encourage you, no matter who you're interacting with, whether they can give you something or not, whether you want to impress that guy or not, it's important to treat people with dignity because that is such a warm and inviting way to be. And again, I do really understand why that like negging kind of thing where you're kind of like rude to a guy in order to get his attention or to like make him want to start the chase. I get why that kind of works sometimes. But if we're talking about long-term dating for marriage, I think it's so much better to not mess around with weird power dynamics. Like even with him showing up as I'm so much better than you, with pickup artist culture, him negging you, that's power imbalance and I don't like that. And I don't think it should go the other way either, where the woman is like, how are you wasting my time? That negative energy. I think it's so much more like fun, serene, and wonderful to tap into the vulnerability, to be warm and inviting. Because I also think that there's an element of adulthood where a lot of us miss out on like that childlike freedom. And the wonderful thing about femininity, and even kind of in masculinity too, like men working on their masculinity, they have their bros, they go to the gym, they succeed, and they just like conquer. That's kind of like a little boy kind of like way of approaching life, I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna have friends, and I'm gonna succeed, that's like little boy. Likewise, with femininity, even in adulthood, it releases you into childlike freedom, where you are going to do hobbies, and you're going to be happy and pretty and have fun with your clothes and make friends and be warm and welcoming and curious about the world and inviting and irresistible. Femininity is so much a blessing to you as it is to other people, because it frees you up to live that like whimsical, sparkly, wholesome kind of, like I said, curious about life. Sometimes people try to protect themselves and achieve safety through people pleasing. Sometimes people try to protect themselves and achieve safety through asserting dominance and by being better than everybody else or presenting themselves that way. But the mature, in my opinion, way to approach life is to acknowledge that pain is going to happen. We cannot avoid it. And so instead, how can we outfit ourselves with the character qualities we need in order to endure such pain? And I think that is by tapping into that feminine confidence, that warmth, and that inviting energy, by being open to new relationships, by being willing to be vulnerable with men, and by knowing that you are enough as a woman. You don't need to put out that masculine energy in order to succeed, in order to attract a man. You don't. You're enough just the way God made you, as I like to say. So thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in more of this kind of content, I have a long femininity series that has discussions on the power of femininity, the discussions on relationships. So check that out. If you haven't, subscribe, join the feminine family. I think we hit over 200K. I didn't want to call it too soon. I don't know, it dropped up and down, but we seem to be at 200K now. So just take that as some encouragement that there is 200,000 other women who value these topics as well. You are not alone in the slightest. If you haven't yet, like the video, leave a comment below. I missed a lot on this topic of feminine confidence, and I really value the input you guys give when it comes to feminine confidence. So leave your experiences, your information, your testimonies, not information, but your testimonies, your stories below. How has feminine confidence transformed your life? Sometimes those comments, I think, can be even more valuable than my video. I hate to say, but sometimes the discussions down there are really wonderful. So check me out also on Instagram. I have been posting again on my blog now that my youngest son is over the age of 1. I have more time. So I've been on my blog, my Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. So check all of that out. Let's connect. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderfully blessed and femininely confident week, my beautiful sisters.